And so today we're going to be doing the week 10 math AMS quiz. It's really easy this week if you focus. Now let's start. So we have the graph below represents for the year 2000 the median height of both males and females between the ages of 10 and 20 in Zland. Now here, since 1985, the median height of 20 years old male has increased by 1.6 to become 177.8. So what was it in 1985? So it's practically telling us x plus 1.6 equals 177.8. That's literally what the question told us. So to find x, you do 177.8 minus 1.6, which is 176.2. That's it. Really easy first part. Now, which two explanations demonstrate how the graphs show an average growth rate in girls slowing down after 13 years of age? Now, when we look at the graph, you can tell from the ages 10 to about 14, they went from being 140 to 165 almost. So that is almost a 20 centimeter increase. But from the ages 15 to 20, all they increased was this. This was all they increased. So less than 4 centimeters probably increase, or 5 centimeters increase. So if between 4 years they got in 20 centimeters increase, and then in the last 5 years or 6 years they only got 5, it's obvious that it slows down after a certain point. See? Now, the rate of change decreases from 13 years or so. So see, the rate of change here was this. The rate of change here is this. This is an upward slope. This is an almost horizontal slope. Obviously, upward slope means a great rate of change, where almost horizontal means less. Now, according to this graph, during which period in their life females are taller than males of their same age? So you have to look at the blue line and see when is the orange line above the blue line. It's between here and here. So this is between 10 and 14. Moving on. Okay, Iliad is preparing a tutorial video about how to build timber border around his garden bed. He has 24 meters of timber to build the border, and he is constructing the following designs for the garden bed. He's considering. Now for this question, what I like to do is I will take the boundaries, like here this all is 9, and draw a rectangle. Here this is where 9 ends and this is where 3 ends, and draw a rectangle. My rectangle skills are amazing. Why is my hand shaking? Oh my gosh. Anyways, and here they already did the rectangle for us. Here this is where 9 ends, so we'll draw a rectangle. Now, whenever I see a question like this, we know that this is exactly a rectangle, which is 18, it used 18 meters. Here, you're using less than 18. Why? Because this is the same rectangle, but it has 2 cutouts. Same here. It's the same rectangle, but it has 2 cutouts. Since we're removing these parts from consideration, this would be less than 18 in both cases. But here, we have a whole extra trapezoid of area above the 18. And I know he has 24, but if we were to account for the angles he had to go through, or he had to use, it would be a lot more than 24 meters being used. So usually whatever fits in the rectangle and even less than the rectangle is the correct answer, because it uses less than the 24. These two use less than the 18. This uses exactly 18, and this uses a bit more than 24. And I dropped my pen. So yeah, so the only 3 designs that use 18 or less than 24 are B, A, and C. Now moving on to the next question. Okay, vector question. This question is really easy if you focus when you're solving it, or if you realize patterns in the vector. Now, first question It's asking for AM, but first, before I start solving for AM, I want to look at our parallelogram a bit to realize a few things and look at the question. So M is a midpoint. That's what they're telling us. What does a midpoint mean? It means it splits AB into 2 halves. So this is 1:1 ratio over the whole thing, which is 2. So we got that out of the way. Now XB, CX to XB is 5:1. CX is 5, XB is 1. So the whole thing would be 6. OA is Q and OC is P. Now, what do we know about a parallelogram from last year? Parallelograms have opposite sides that are equal. So this one is a vector Q, so this one has to be a vector Q, side BC. And if side OC is a vector P, then side AB has to be a vector P. Because what are vectors? Vectors are two lines that are similar in quantity and direction. So if OA is Q, CB is Q. And if OC is P, AB is also P. So that's what we recognize in the diagram. Now they're asking us what is AM. So AM is half, because it's a ratio of 1:2. Right? So it's half of the vector P, because we know AB is P, and it is half of AB. So it's half P. That's what they're asking for in the first question. Now for question 2, they're asking us for what is MX, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I just checked the question. They're asking in the second part for part MX, so this is part A. Now for part B, which is what is MX. MX, let me draw it out in a different color. What is MX? It's this one, right? Now what is MX practically? It's MB plus BX. Now what's MB? MB is the same as AM, so it's also a half of P, so equals half P plus BX. Now what is BX? We know this part is 1, 2, the whole thing, which is 6. And we know this is a sixth of vector Q. So it's a sixth of vector Q. That's what MX is. So you look at MB, which is a half of P, and BX, which is 1/6 of Q. Now, next part, it's still in part B. They're asking us for what is OX. Let me do it in a different color. OX. Now where is OX on the diagram? OX is right here. Now what is OX? OX is P plus CX. So it's equal to P plus, what is CX? Again, like BX. CX is 1/5 of Q. See? It's 1/5 of the whole thing, which is 6. So it's 5/6 of vector Q. So far, first 2 parts, really easy. First 3 parts, my bad. But now the third part. The third part is the tricky one because we've never actually taken something like it. But it's really easy. Now I'm gonna delete everything I have drawn so I can explain part B, the last part of part B. Now we have in part B, they're telling us line AB is extended and line OX is extended to meet at a point F. So AB, you extend it, and OX, you also extend it, and they meet at this point F. Okay? So far easy. Now they want you to tell them what OF is in its simplest form. Now you're probably gonna say, oh, how are we gonna do this? It's hard, we don't have any given. Look, what we actually have to do is pretty much remember what we took last year. I want you to look at the shape I'm drawing in green. this shape. What can you see in this shape? We can see, first of all, we know parallelograms are parallel. This is parallel to this. So this is technically parallel to this because it's on the same line. So first of all, these two angles are equal. Why? Because they're vertical angles. Second of all, I'm gonna draw this with a third color. What can we see here? We see I like to write it like this. We see the Z shape. What does this mean? That this angle is equal to this angle. Okay, perfect. Now we have two angles that are equal. By AA postulate, it tells us that By AA postulate, it tells us that these two triangles are similar. Now, what do we do because they're similar? Because they're similar, it means that their sides are proportional to each other. So how do we now solve a question like this? We can first see that. We first write down the ratios. So CX over XB. So CX, this part, over XB equals OX over XF. Now, what do we know about parts CX and BX? We already have the proportion. This is 5 and this is 1. So we can replace this now. CX is 5, XB is 1, because that's the proportion given. Now what do? We cross multiply them. And to find XF, we need to find this line. So now, XF, when you cross multiply, it's equal to 1 over 5 OX. Don't ask how we got it. All we did was cross multiply them, because it becomes 5XF equals OX, and then you divide by 5 on both sides. You'll get this in the end. So this is what we have so far. Now we remove all our unnecessary annotations on this diagram. Now we see what is really OF. We never actually looked at OF itself. OF is this line. So OF is made out of parts O, X, and XF. Perfect. We have both we found OX last part, and we have XF now. So OF is equal to OX plus plus XF, which we found to be 1 over 5 of OX. See? Now, practically you can add this here, and it becomes OF equals, because this is 1 OX, it's 5 over 5, so it becomes 6 over 5 OX. What did we say OX was? We said OX in the last part we solved that OX was P plus 5 over 6Q, right? This we got it from the last part. Now distribute 6 over 5P plus 6 over 5 times 5 over 6Q. 6 cancels with 6, 5 cancels with 6, so technically we have Q. And that's the answer. It is 6 over OF equals 6 over 5P plus Q. That is it for this question. It takes a bit long, but it's really easy once you actually get the idea. So that's the first 3 parts. Now, what is the positive value of H if mx is this and mx is this? Wait, let me explain what we're seeing now. So what they gave us here is a vector. Wait, let me see if I can. Okay, this is the bottommost I can go. They gave us a vector, and they gave us the magnitude of that vector. Now, what do we know the magnitude is? The magnitude is a squared plus b squared, and under the radical sign. So what this question is telling us, radical h squared plus negative 3h squared equals radical 490. That's literally what this question is telling us. Now we need to solve for h, because they want what's the positive value of h. Now, first of all, we know that anything squared can be taken out of the radical sign. So we're left with, what's it called? Wait, before we remove it from the radical sign, first let's do this so we only, everything we have is just like in Spear's form. Negative 3 squared becomes 9 and h squared, so it's practically 9h squared. Now when we add these two together, what do we get? We get that we have 10h squared. And we know already that anything squared can be taken out. So you get h radical 10 equals radical 490. Now how do we want to get rid of the radicals? We have to square both sides, right? Right. So we get h squared times 10 equals radical 490. Now to get rid of, to keep h alone, we have to do h equals 490 divided by 10. So h equals 49. They said they wanted the positive value. So h equals radical 49. 49, radical 49 equals 7 or negative 7. They want the positive value, which is 7. And that's it for this part. Now, let's move on to the next question. Okay, this question, we've seen it like a million times. Really easy once we know how to do it. You have a parallelogram, and they gave you all the lengths, and let's solve it again. So KLMN is a parallelogram. LM is 5, so this is also 5. This is 3, this is 3, and they gave us LN, which is 3.2. Now they want angle, for the first part, they want this angle. And this, by the way, is 1. Anyways, they want this angle. What do? We need to find, we know that this is a parallelogram, so opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. So we need to find angle M. Angle M, we can find it by cosine rule. So angle M equals cosine negative 1 of the sides that make it up, which are 5 and 3, add them together, squared, minus this. So 5 squared plus 3 squared minus 3.2 squared over 2 multiplied by the sides that make it up. So 2 times 5 times 3. Put this all in your calculator. You're gonna get that angle M equals to something around 38 degrees. That answers your first question. Now for the second question, they asked us for the area of the shaded region. What's the shaded region? It's everything other than this part here. Now how do we find this? First, let's go back and write our measurements. And this is 3.2. Now for this area, we know that we need h times the base. How do we find h? What do we know? That this angle is 38, right? And that we can use, because this angle is 90. So what do you have? You have a right triangle. So we know that opposite. So yeah, cosine 38 equals h over the hypotenuse, which is 3. Sorry. So h would equal cosine 38 times 3 times 3. 38 and then times 3. Okay, so it's equal to 2.364, whatever. So this is our height. And we know that the area of the parallelogram is height times base. So you take this number and multiply by 5. So you're gonna get that the total area is 11.8 or something like that. Now, what we're gonna do is, what's it called? We need to find the area of this little sector, the area of this sector. Now we know that the area of a sector is the angle over 360 times pi r squared. Now our radius is 1, so we just put this to get the area of arc HG. So it's 38 over 360 times pi which is 0 point something whatever. Okay guys, I was looking over my solving and I realized I did something wrong. This isn't cosine 38, it's sine 38. That's why I was wondering my answer was coming out with me wrong. So sine 38 times 3 gives us 1.84. When we multiply that by 5, we get 9.23. So now we do 9.23 minus this. Once we do that on our calculators, now we're gonna get the correct answer. Like, my bad guys for the mistake, but I didn't notice. So once we subtract this from this, you're gonna get 8.9. They want it to the nearest whole number, which is 9. That's your area of the shaded area. Now they want the circumference. Circumference way easier. This is 5, this is 3, this is 5, this is 3. 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3 gives you 16. So perimeter equals 16 of the shape. To find the perimeter of this, you subtract from it 38 over 360 times 2 pi r. R is 1, I'm not gonna write it. So now 16 minus the same thing in your calculator, 38 over 360 times 2 times pi give you 15.336. rounded to the nearest whole number is just 15. That's how you solve the first question. Now moving on, circumference equals 2 pi r. So 4 times 2 is 8 pi, and that's it. Now area is pi r squared, so 5 squared pi is the area. Now this part, so what we want is we have a radius of 35 and we have this arc. Now we need to find the area of the whole arc minus it from the area of this triangle. So area of the arc would be 90 over 360, which is 1 over 4 times 35 pi r squared, of course, pi r squared. So they told us use pi as 22 over 7. So once you do this in your calculator, let me do it really quick. Times 35 squared, you're gonna get 962.5. Now we need to find the area of the triangle, which is half length base times height, which is half 35 squared. Once you do that in your calculator, wait, let me do it again. 0.5 times 35 squared gives you 612.5. Now subtract the two numbers from each other. You're gonna get that it's equal to, like these two minus them, you're gonna get 350. That is your answer. Now moving on, you have a circle that's circumference is 12 pi. So the r must be, if it's 12 divided by 2, r equals, or it's 12 pi divided by 2 pi gives you 6. So r equals 6. And now we know that the r is 6 and they want the area. Area is pi r squared, so it's pi 6 squared. 6 squared is 36, and the pi, they already gave it to us. So your answer is 36. Practically 3/4 of this quiz is all repeat from last week. Here, in the given figure, you have PQR, which is an arc of radius r and length 15. We don't know the radius, we know the whole length. Now, what is the length of QR? How do we find it? We know this angle 90 in radians is pi over 2, right? So we do pi over 2. Oh, by the way, in radians, the area of the length of an arc equals pi r, or pi theta, which is radians, the angle in radians. Now, to find it, we do pi over 2 plus pi over 3. Make common denominators. We're gonna get in the end 5 over 6 pi. Now we do 15 equals 5 over 6 pi. And again, my formula is wrong. It's not theta pi, it's pi theta. I mean, it's pi r. Or theta r, sorry, theta r. Theta is our angle here times the r. So you do then 15. R equals 15 divided by 5.6, 5 over 6 radians. I'm going to do that really quickly in my calculator. We get something like 5.729, whatever. Once we get that, now to find only RQ, which is this part, we multiply with the angle of this part. So pi over 3 times r. So pi over 3 times r. Put it into your calculators. And we get 6. And that's your answer. Moving on. This cone question. A lot of people don't understand it still. Hasn't showed up in an exam. Highly doubt it will, but we'll see. Now, in this question, you need to find the sector angle. How do we do that? We know that this sector angle is equal to this. What is this? This is the circumference, which is 2 pi. 2 times pi, which is 4. 2 pi r. So 2 times 4 is 8 times pi is pi. We're not going to actually do it. So 8 pi equals the sector angle over 360 times the, what's it called? The side times 2 pi r, because we need the new circumference, which is 2 pi, and the r is 10 here. Once you put all this into your calculator, we're gonna get x equals 144, of course. Now, for the next part of this question, they're asking us what is the area of this sector. Now we remove all this and we start solving for the area. Area of a sector is the area of the sector minus the area of the triangle. They want the shaded part only. So area of the sector, which is 144 degrees over 360 times pi r squared, which is 10 squared. Put this into your calculators. So 144 over 360 times pi times 10 squared, which is 100. We're gonna get almost 125.6. Now the area of the triangle is half 10 times 10 times sine of the angle x. So sine 144. Once you put that into your calculator, we're gonna get that it is 0.5 times 100. Wait, times 100 times sine 144, which is something like 29.38. I can't fit it, I'm just gonna write 29.4. Once you subtract the two numbers from each other, 0.6 minus 39.4. We're gonna get that your answer is something like 96.22 or something like that. And then we round it to the nearest whole number, 96. Moving on. They want the surface area of a right rectangular prism. We know that the surface area of a right rectangular prism is 2 times length width plus width height plus height length, or length height. Length width is what's it called? 24 plus 40 plus 60, or yeah. We get 124 times 2, which is 248. And that's your answer. In the exam, they asked for a cube. For the cube, you had to find the area, which is side squared, and then multiply it by 6. So the cube is 6 side squared. This came in the exam last week. Now, moving on. So for this question, they tell us we have a solid cylinder that has a volume of 125 pi and a height of 5. Now we know that the volume of a cylinder equals pi r squared height. Pi, so volume is 125 pi. 125 pi equals this. And the height is 5. Now pi goes with pi. 5, you divide it from both sides. You get what's it called? Let me remove this. 125 divided by 5 is 25. And then we're left with r equals radical 25, which could be 5 or negative 5, but since we're talking about a distance, it has to be a positive value, so it's 5 centimeters. Now, moving on, we have that same cylinder, but we put a solid cone on it with a height of 9 centimeters. Now, a cone has a volume of 1/3 pi r squared height. Now, we need to add the volume of the last shape, so 125, plus the volume of the cone. Now, this is 125 pi. Now, the volume of the cone, this is 1/3. I said third, but I wrote second. Anyways, her 1/3 of pi, 5 squared, because we got the 5 in the last question. It has the same radius as this. And height is 9. So 1/3 times 5 squared times 9 is 75 pi. 125 pi plus 75 pi is 200 pi. Now, they told you a solid similar to that of part B has a volume of 5,400 centimeters cubed. So you have 5,400 centimeters or pi over 200, since they're similar. And they want the radius of the new cylinder when this one, the last cylinder, had a radius of 5. Now, what do we know about them? This is in centimeters cubed and this is in centimeters. So whenever we want to make from centimeters cubed to centimeters, we have to put it under the radical sign for 3. So you just do this, and then we're gonna get that all of this is equal to 3 equals x over 5. X is 15. And that is it. If you get ever area, you'll have to put it under the radical sign for 2. If you get volume like here, always put it under the radical sign for 3. Now, moving on. Here, you need to find the volume of the sphere. A volume of a sphere radius 6. Now, the volume of a sphere is 4 over 3. Or is it 3 over 4? Okay, so it's 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Now 6 cubed is 126. 126 times 4 over 3, it's 288 pi. And Anna, my teacher, told me whenever they tell you radius 6 and it's a sphere, memorize this answer because it's a very common answer or a very common number they ask for. So whenever they say radius 6 and it's a sphere, just know it's 288 pi. Now, for the next part, they said the sphere is placed in a cylindrical container containing radius 7 centimeters and filled with a liter of water, as shown below. Now they want the height of the water with the cylinder. What do? We find the height of the water in the cylinder without the ball. We find the height of the cylinder with the ball, and we add them. Now, to find that, you need to put 1000 centimeters cubed, which is the volume of the water, equals pi r squared height. R is 7. So here we do it 1000 divide pi divide 49. You're gonna get height equals, or height 1 equals 6.49 or 6.5 خلاص. Now we need to find with the sphere, only the sphere. So 288 pi, which is what we found in the last part, equals pi r squared h. So 7 squared h. Now once we do this in our calculator, we can cancel the pi's together. So we're doing 288 divided by 49, which gives us height 2 equals to 5.87. When you add these two numbers together, you get something around 12.3, which you round down to 12, because they said round it to the nearest centimeters. Now, that's it. Moving on. Here we have a vector, u, and v is 8, negative 8u. So it's u going in the opposite direction to a times of 8 times. So what we do is 5 times negative 8 and negative 2 times negative 8. 5 becomes negative 40 and this becomes 16. This is your new vector. M is 40, negative 40, and N is 16. That's it. Moving on. Okay, so given Mn, a vector, is negative 2, 5, and M, the point M is 2, 4. The coordinates of M are, so you do 2 minus 2, you get 0. And then you do 4 plus 5, because what do? It's 2 plus negative 2, which is 0, and it's 4 plus 5, which is 9. So that's it, 0 and 9. Now the magnitude of this vector is, now to find the magnitude of a vector, it's top number squared plus bottom number squared under a radical sign. This here equals radical 401. And that's it. You could do it in your calculator too. Now moving on. You have two vectors. And you need to find their magnitude without being given the vector. Or you have 2 points. Now to find this, you find vector, the vector is AB. So you look at A and see B. Or the x in A and the x in B. 6 minus minus 4 means from negative 4 you increased by 10 to reach 6. And from 1 you added 3 to reach 4. So this is your vector, right? Now to find the magnitude of this vector, it's 10 squared plus 3 squared, which is radical 109. That's it. So K is 109. Here they want you to add two if the initial point of u plus v is 4, 9, then the terminal point is, so what they're telling you is you have a point 4 and 9, and you want to add to it u and v. So first you add u and v, which is 5 plus 11, which is 16, and then, sorry, not fraction, and 7 plus 15, which is 7 plus 15, it's 22. Now we take points 4 and 9. 4 you add to it 16, and 9 you add to it 22. 16 plus 4 is 20, 22 plus 9 is 31. And that's it. Vectors are the easiest thing when it comes down to things like this. but they're the most confusing thing when it comes down to questions like question 3. Anyways, next. Okay, so now we have something else. It's arithmetic progression, which we call AP. Which is the value of the common difference of this arithmetic progression? Now this is really easy. When they give you a question like this and ask for the common difference, it means subtract first value from the second value from the first, third value from the second, whatever. So 5 minus 2 is 7, 12 minus 5 is 7, so the common difference is 7. That's it. Now, moving on. Here, they want the 11th term in this arithmetic progression. Now, in an arithmetic progression, we have to memorize 1 or 2 formulas maximum. So, AM is AN plus M minus N difference. So what this is telling us is A of 11 is A of the first value, A1, which they gave it to us as 5, plus M minus N. So 11 minus AN, we used A1. So 11 minus 1 times the common difference, which they gave us as 2. So 5 plus 20. So A11 is 25. And that's it. Memorize this formula, please, because we're gonna have to use it almost all the time. Okay, for this one we need to use a different formula, which is Sn is n over 2 into 2 of A1 plus n minus 1 difference. Memorize it. The sum of the first 15 terms, so they want the sum of 15 equals 15 over 2 into 2 times the first number is A1 is 3 plus n, which is 15, minus 1 times the common difference. So 8 minus 3 is 5, 13 minus 8 is 5, so the common difference here is 5. You could put all of this in your calculator, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. So 2 times 3 plus 15 minus 1, which is 14, times 5. Sorry. And close brackets. You're gonna get that S15 is equal to 570. And that is it. Now, moving on. What is the common... Okay, so this question. Okay, so what's the common difference of an arithmetic progression, AP? So now they gave us this thing. So UN is 101 n minus 6. Okay? Now for this, what they want us to do is... So how do we solve this? We first need to know one thing. The formula. Now, we know that the formula is, for any first term, is UN equals A. By the way, this is the second, like, you could use AM equals AN. This is the same thing. But here they're doing it as if you're using the first value. So, UN, which is your first value, is A plus n minus 1. Remember, n is the first. We're doing it as if... Actually, let me replace it, because I told you a formula. AM equals AN. N minus n. Here we're using n as 1, of course, times common difference. Okay? So, now we need to compare the two formulas. So, what is 101n? So, it is practically... Sorry, my mic glitched. So we need to do we need to make it look like this. So it's equal to 101 times 1 minus 6, because that's what the an is, plus n minus 1, or m minus 1 as we did, m minus 1 times 101. Then when you simplify, you get that it's un, or an, as we used it, is 95 plus 101 into m minus 1, which is practically, what's it called? The same formula, but we put the common difference before the brackets. So your common difference is 101. If you're gonna ask me what I did here, all I did was I substituted every time. So this is m minus n, right? I substituted all the n's in my equation by 1. So it's, to find un, I needed to do this times 1 minus 6 plus m minus 1 or n minus 1, because we don't know what it is since we substituted with 1, times 101, which is our common difference. So our common difference is 101. Now, moving on. You have an arithmetic progression with the first term as 105 and the common difference is 7. What's the 41st term? So A, 41 is, they want the 41st, okay. So equals an, which is the first term, 105, plus m minus n, 41 minus the first term, so 41 minus 1, times 7. Put that on in your calculators if you want. 105 plus 280 يعني. I'm not gonna do it on calculator because why would I? Is 385, which is your answer. Now, moving on. Oh, I skipped a question, didn't I? Okay, yeah, this one. They want the arithmetic progression with the first 500 term, with the first term 500 and the common difference -9. What's the 41st term? Again. So A 41 is 500 plus 41 minus 1, because that's the first term, with common difference -9. So 500 times plus 40 times -9, which is -360. Which when you subtract them from each other, you're gonna get that you have 140, which is your arithmetic progression, or your 41st term. Now, what's the sum of the first 20 terms? So sum 20 of the arithmetic progression if the first term is 18 and the 20th term is 38. Okay. So here they did something. They did not give us our common difference, but they gave us the first term and the 20th term. Now when we want to find the common difference and they gave us two terms that aren't after each other, this is what you do. You do am minus an over m minus n. So you do the 20th term, which is 38, minus the first term, which is 18, over 20 minus the first term. Put that in your calculator, it's gonna give you the common difference. So let me do it really quickly. 38 minus 18 over 19 gives you 20 over 19. Your common difference is 20 over 19. So D is 20 over 19. These are the only three formulas you have to memorize for this chapter, by the way. You don't have another one. I think. Anyways, so that's your common difference. Now, let's fill in n minus 2. So we know that the formula is n minus 2. If you didn't write it down in case, 2a1 n minus 1 plus, n minus 1 d. So 20 over 2 into 2 of 18 plus n minus 1, so it's 20 minus 1 times 20 over 19. So technically 19 cancels with 19, it becomes 20. So plus 20. So this is 36 plus 20 times 10. So 36 plus 20 is 56. So it's 560 because 56 times 10 is 560. I personally like solving this chapter like by hand, not by calculator. Find it faster, but of course, if you don't trust yourself when solving by hand, solve it by calculator, of course. You're allowed. Now, moving on to the last question. This, of course, is we did it last week. They gave us a sector of an angle and they want the area of the sector. Area of sector is theta over 360 times 2 pi, times pi. Oh my gosh, pi r squared. So 108 over 360 times pi times 10 squared, which is gonna give you 30 pi. And that's it for this quiz. Hope you understood everything. Have a good day. Bye.